The jagged horizon of the death world stretched endlessly, a fractured expanse of blackened rock and jagged cliffs that seemed to defy logic. Acidic rain hissed as it met exposed stone, evaporating into vapor that twisted in the gusting winds. Lightning forked violently across a bruised sky, illuminating massive predators perched atop cliffs, their eyes gleaming with primal intelligence. Rivers of molten rock carved their way through valleys, sending walls of heat upward in unpredictable surges. Every step was a negotiation with chaos, a gamble where the environment itself sought to annihilate any who dared traverse it. Humans moved with deliberate precision, each footfall measured, boots gripping fractured stone as they ascended a narrow ridge. Their gear was rugged, scarred from countless trials, yet perfectly suited to extremes. Breathable exosuits shielded them from toxic storms, modular tools attached at every belt and strap. They scanned the environment constantly, calculating angles of approach, wind shifts, predator movement, and unstable terrain. One human crouched, dislodging a loose stone, testing its stability before pressing forward. Another rigged a makeshift anchor from fallen debris, a silent precaution against the treacherous cliffs. Their movements were fluid, almost instinctual, blending analytical foresight with raw adaptability. A sudden roar tore through the valley below. Massive quadrupeds, skin like molten obsidian, surged toward the humans. Their jaws were wide, lined with serrated teeth, claws designed to cleave through rock. Without hesitation, humans split naturally into tactical positions, circling, not panicked but focused. One hurled a tethered explosive into the path of the predators, triggering a controlled detonation that sent boulders tumbling down a slope, diverting the creatures without a direct confrontation. Another used the distraction to vault across a crevasse, securing a foothold on the opposite cliffside. No words were exchanged. Communication was a series of gestures, glances, and shared instinct honed from countless survival trials. Lightning struck perilously close, splitting a tree-sized shard of rock from the cliff. It plummeted toward one human, but they pivoted mid-step, grabbing a secure ledge and swinging out of harm's way. Dust, sparks, and a plume of toxic vapor rose around them, yet they remained unflinching, eyes scanning for the next hazard. The death world did not relent. Acidic rain intensified, drenching their exosuits. The air vibrated with the roar of distant predator hunts and the tremor of shifting terrain. Each natural hazard was a test, each survival a testament not just to skill but to an innate ability to adapt and dominate circumstances far beyond ordinary limits. The humans advanced steadily, undeterred by avalanches, acidic torrents, and the constant threat of predation. They used every environmental cue, the angle of a rock face, the scent of approaching predators, the resonance of distant tremors, to navigate, improvise, and survive. One paused to examine a narrow chasm, then assembled a makeshift bridge from fragmented bones and driftwood, balancing and securing it with taut cords. Another neutralized a venomous plant that had claimed previous explorers, leveraging it instead as a trap for smaller predators. Survival was never passive. Every action was proactive, efficient, and ruthlessly effective. From a distant ridge, massive predator packs observed, unsure whether the humans were prey or an anomaly that defied nature. The humans' movements were neither frantic nor arrogant. They were a demonstration of seamless synergy between instinct, intellect, and adaptability. The death world, in all its chaotic fury, tested them relentlessly, yet they pressed on, navigating impossible terrain, evading lethal threats, and manipulating the environment to their advantage. Every obstacle overcome was both a challenge and a display of unspoken dominance, a visual assertion that on this savage planet, humans were not merely surviving, they were shaping the battlefield on their terms. At the end of the ridge, humans paused briefly, surveying the jagged expanse ahead. Volcanic steam rose from fissures, lightning licked the horizon, and predators lingered in tense anticipation. A single human adjusted a strap on their exosuit, glanced at the others, and stepped forward without hesitation, unshaken by the death-defying landscape. The camera lingered on the breadth of the death world, chaotic, lethal, unconquered. Yet among the peril and destruction, a silent truth was clear. Humans moved not as victims of the world but as entities uniquely equipped to endure, adapt, and ultimately dominate, their presence a quiet but unmistakable assertion of supremacy. Massive figures moved among the jagged rocks below, their skin mottled in hues of dark crimson and gray, muscles rippling as they navigated uneven terrain with brute efficiency. These were the native Deathworlders, apex predators of their own planet, yet even in their domain, caution threaded their movements. Each step was calculated, claws sinking into the fractured stone, tails whipping for balance, eyes scanning for threats. They paused, sensing the subtle shift in air pressure, the almost imperceptible vibration of approaching footsteps. Then the humans emerged. From a distance, the humans appeared unassuming, a small group against an overwhelming landscape. Yet every motion conveyed precision, every adjustment to footing and posture a statement of control. Without a sound, one human crouched, scanning predator tracks, observing angles of attack, and adjusting a tactical harness to account for the wind. Another removed a small tool from a belt, testing the stability of jagged rocks to create an improvised path. The Deathworlders watched, hesitation flickering in their eyes. They were hunters by instinct, yet here were beings moving with awareness that transcended mere survival. A pack of smaller predators surged suddenly, drawn by the scent of movement. The Deathworlders lunged, claws tearing into stone, fangs snapping. Humans split with a synchrony that appeared instinctual, leaving gaps yet never vulnerable. One tossed a weighted net over a pursuing predator, redirecting it into a natural crevasse. Another used a suspended cable to vault over jagged terrain, landing precisely and uninjured. The humans did not strike recklessly, they manipulated the environment, guiding threats into controlled zones while advancing with calculated intent. The Deathworlders hesitated, uncertain whether to follow or retreat. The terrain shifted violently as a molten fissure erupted nearby. Lava spewed upward, forcing the Deathworlders to retreat instinctively. Humans adjusted mid-step, using the eruption's chaos to cross dangerous chasms. They rigged temporary anchors and bridges from fragments of rock, balancing with a mastery that made the impossible routine. One human leaned over a precipice, snatching a dislodged boulder mid-fall and redirecting it to block a predator's path. Every movement was efficient, ruthless, and purposeful, leaving no room for error yet showing no hesitation or fear. As the humans advanced, the Deathworlders attempted to assert dominance through raw aggression, leaping from rocks, fangs bared, claws extended. Humans countered with strategy, not strength. They feinted, redirected, and forced predators into dead zones, areas where falling rock, sudden steam vents, or acidic runoff created natural barriers. The Deathworlders' brute force collided repeatedly with the humans' tactical precision, and slowly, hesitation replaced aggression. They could anticipate the humans' actions but could not match the combination of calculation, timing, and adaptability. Humans scavenged the environment silently, repurposing natural hazards. A toxic plant was used as a barrier, jagged stones as improvised traps. Even the smallest predator movements were exploited to maintain control without unnecessary violence. The Deathworlders, observing, began to step back, circling warily, their movements cautious yet alert. Humans never acknowledged their presence beyond the practical necessity of survival. They did not display arrogance, but dominance emerged naturally from competence and calm under pressure. Lightning split the sky, illuminating a chasm below where a Deathworlder had overextended in pursuit. Humans leveraged the moment, shifting terrain debris to block escape routes, not to kill, but to assert control. Each action was decisive, fluid, and unapologetic. The Deathworlders paused mid-stride, instinctive aggression checked by the humans' mastery of the battlefield. There was no dialogue, only the silent acknowledgement of skill, strategy, and lethal calm. Humans did not seek to dominate overtly. They existed as a force of adaptation and precision, unmatched by the instinct-driven natives. By the time the humans reached a plateau overlooking the valley, the Deathworlders had retreated into scattered clusters, observing with cautious awe. The humans' movements remained unhurried, methodical, their every action reinforcing a subtle but undeniable message. Survival was not merely instinct, it was mastery, and in this domain, humans were unmatched. Even in a land of chaos, aggression, and raw power, the humans' efficiency, ingenuity, and control created a presence that commanded respect without words, leaving Deathworlders uncertain whether these beings were prey, predator, or something far beyond. The ground trembled as the Deathworld's fury escalated, fissures cracking open beneath feet, sending shards of rock and molten stone upward. Toxic vapors swirled through the air, thick and acrid, stinging exposed skin and corroding unshielded metal. Predators surged from hidden dens, a mass of claws, teeth, and scales moving with lethal synchronization. Humans advanced with calm precision, reading the environment as though it were an extension of their senses. Every rock, every vent of steam, every vibration in the earth was accounted for, exploited, and transformed into an advantage. A sudden avalanche of jagged stone barreled down a slope. One human pivoted, catching a falling fragment mid-air, redirecting it into a predator's path, forcing the creature to stumble into a naturally formed pit. Another vaulted over molten streams, using a tethered harness to swing across a widening chasm, landing with perfect balance. Each maneuver combined instinct with engineering, a fusion of reflex and foresight honed by countless trials. The Deathworlders hesitated, teeth bared, claws extended, unsure whether to attack or retreat. Their brute force collided with humans' calculated efficiency at every turn, repeatedly failing to gain the upper hand. Humans moved in silence, observing predator patterns, anticipating eruptions, and manipulating terrain with surgical precision. A vent of superheated gas erupted near a predator pack, and a human triggered a sliding boulder to intersect the blast, scattering the predators without a single strike. Another set traps from fractured rock and lethal flora, guiding predators toward confined zones where escape was impossible. Each action was swift, deliberate, and devoid of hesitation, a demonstration of lethal control that extended beyond mere survival. Predators lunged, acid sprayed, and clawed, yet humans adapted instantly. One used the momentum of an oncoming beast to vault higher, landing on a protruding ledge, and redirected another predator into the toxic runoff of a volcanic stream. Another human, using a sharpened rock, created a counterweight trap that toppled a predator into a lava fissure, precise and unflinching. Every strike was calculated, every movement optimized. Humans did not kill recklessly. They neutralized threats efficiently, exploiting environment and behavior with unerring logic. The Deathworlders tried to assert dominance through raw aggression, charging, leaping, and striking with primal force. Humans met each advance with tactical displacement, feints, and environmental manipulation. A group of humans coordinated silently, using gestures and glances to set multiple traps simultaneously, guiding predators into confined spaces where they could be controlled without direct combat. The Deathworlders' attempts at intimidation faltered against humans' foresight and adaptability, leaving hesitation and awe in their wake. As molten rock cascaded down cliffs and lightning tore the sky, humans navigated the chaos effortlessly. They crossed erupting fissures, swung from unstable rock formations, and neutralized ambushes with instinctive precision. One human used a falling predator as leverage to vault across a gap, converting imminent danger into an advantage. Another triggered a controlled landslide to block pursuing predators, clearing a path with absolute efficiency. Humans' actions were not flamboyant. They were methodical, controlled, and ruthlessly effective, each survival a quiet assertion of dominance. By the time the humans reached a plateau above the central valley, the Deathworlders had been forced into retreat. Packs circled warily, observing from a distance, unwilling to challenge the humans directly. The humans paused, scanning the chaotic expanse below, every posture calm and deliberate, every motion precise. Predators and Deathworlders alike had been contained, redirected, or neutralized with minimal effort but maximum effect. The human survival was not passive endurance, it was active mastery, an unspoken declaration of supremacy that needed no words to be understood. From the ridge, humans surveyed the expanse of the Deathworld, its rivers of molten rock, jagged cliffs, and swarming predators now a controlled stage. Lightning struck and predators scattered, yet the humans remained composed, unhurried, and unbroken. Every action, from the simplest step to the most complex tactical maneuver, demonstrated the apex-level adaptability and lethal efficiency that marked them as far beyond instinctual survival. In the chaos of a planet designed to kill, humans had transformed disorder into advantage, and their presence alone reshaped the battlefield, forcing even the most feral beings to acknowledge a new apex predator. The Deathworlders lingered at the edge of the valley, their movements cautious, deliberate, and measured. Eyes flicked constantly toward the humans, observing every step, every adjustment, every calculated maneuver. They had tried aggression, brute force, and instinctive strategies, yet each encounter had been countered with precise timing, environmental manipulation, and an efficiency that left no margin for error. The humans moved through chaos with a calm that was almost unnatural, navigating falling rock, toxic mists, and predator attacks without a hint of hesitation. One human paused to assess a jagged chasm, while another adjusted a harness and extended a makeshift rope bridge. The Deathworlders watched silently, muscles tensed, instincts screaming for engagement, yet curiosity and caution overrode aggression. A smaller predator emerged, charging at the humans, yet it was redirected effortlessly into a shallow fissure where it became trapped. The humans did not celebrate or react. Their calm efficiency conveyed mastery without display. Every action was purposeful, every movement a quiet declaration that in this brutal world, dominance could be asserted without chaos. Lightning split the sky above, illuminating molten rivers that cut across the valley floor. Humans navigated these hazards as if the environment were an extension of their will. One leapt across a widening fissure, anchoring a tethered line to a protruding rock, creating a safe path for others. Another used the eruption of steam from a geothermal vent to divert pursuing predators, guiding them into a controlled trap. The Deathworlders hesitated, realizing that raw strength and instinct could not match the combination of foresight, adaptability, and calculated precision displayed by humans. The humans' engagement with the environment was silent but deliberate. They scavenged natural materials, reinforced precarious ledges, and created paths where none should exist. They exploited hazards, not for destruction alone, but to assert control, turning chaos into opportunity. The Deathworlders observed from a distance, their posture shifting subtly, a mixture of awe and apprehension in every movement. Where instinct had driven them before, now hesitation guided their actions. The humans' mastery was undeniable. It did not rely on confrontation or domination through violence alone, but through complete integration with the lethal landscape. A predator pack surged from a hidden den, teeth bared and claws extended. Humans responded with coordinated precision. One pivoted to redirect momentum, another used a tethered boulder to block the charge, and a third moved silently to a high vantage point, guiding the predator's path. Each predator was neutralized with efficiency, yet no unnecessary violence was displayed. The Deathworlders stepped back instinctively, recognizing the futility of direct challenge. The humans' presence alone commanded respect, their capability evident without a single spoken word. As the humans advanced along a ridge, their figures framed against molten rivers and jagged cliffs, the Deathworlders' hesitation deepened. Packs split, circling cautiously, instinctual dominance overridden by an acknowledgement of skill and control beyond their comprehension. The humans did not seek recognition, they did not assert themselves overtly. Yet their mastery over environment, predator, and hazards spoke louder than any display of aggression. Each movement demonstrated not just survival, but superiority in adaptation, strategy, and lethal efficiency. From a plateau above the central valley, humans paused, scanning the terrain as predators scattered and Deathworlders retreated. Lightning danced across molten rivers, dust rose from fractured stone, and steam hissed from geothermal vents, yet humans remained composed. The Deathworlders observed, understanding that their own savagery, honed for survival, could not match this blend of intellect, instinct, and adaptability. Humans were apex not by chance, but by design. Each step, each decision, each movement reaffirmed their dominance in a world built to destroy all who entered it. The Deathworlders' acknowledgement was subtle but unmistakable. They no longer rushed into attacks or encroached carelessly. Their movements were cautious, their posture respectful, even wary. Humans continued forward unhurried, their actions precise, their presence a quiet but undeniable assertion of supremacy. In this hostile landscape, where every element threatened death, humans had demonstrated not only survival but mastery. Their savagery was authentic yet controlled, their skill undeniable, and their dominance unchallenged. The Deathworlders had witnessed the apex force of nature, and without ceremony or words, they recognized it. Humans moved steadily across the fractured landscape, each step deliberate, each adjustment to footing precise. Jagged cliffs loomed overhead, molten streams cut through the valleys below, and the air was thick with ash, steam, and the acrid scent of predators and scorched earth. Nothing about the death world had softened. Storms raged with renewed intensity, and creatures of every size and shape patrolled the terrain with lethal intent. Yet the humans navigated with unwavering calm, exploiting every environmental hazard as a tool rather than a threat. A massive predator surged from a fissure, scales glinting under the flashes of lightning. One human pivoted at the last instant, redirecting its momentum with a weighted cord, sending the creature stumbling into a natural pit. Another leapt across a molten stream, swinging from a jagged outcrop and landing with flawless balance. Each movement was a blend of instinct, calculation, and adaptability, a display of efficiency that went beyond mere survival. Humans did not hesitate, did not falter, and did not waste effort. The death world itself seemed to bend under their understanding, responding to their presence with a mixture of chaos that they could manipulate with precision. Humans adapted the terrain to their advantage. Jagged rocks became anchor points, fallen trees and debris were repurposed into bridges or barriers, and naturally occurring hazards, toxic plants, steam vents, lava fissures, were integrated into strategic paths. One human used a rolling boulder to divert a pursuing predator into a trap, while another repurposed a geothermal vent steam to obscure movement and guide creatures away. Each action demonstrated mastery without spectacle, a quiet assertion of control over a world designed to kill indiscriminately. Predator packs surged repeatedly, yet humans neutralized threats with silent precision. Tethered traps, redirected momentum, and environmental manipulation rendered aggression ineffective. The Deathworlders, once aggressive, now observed from a distance, their movements cautious, hesitant, and calculated. Their instinctual dominance was challenged not by brute force alone but by humans' unique ability to integrate intelligence, strategy, and adaptability with physical skill. Each predator contained, each hazard navigated, reinforced humans' apex status. The humans' presence reshaped the battlefield subtly but decisively. Lava flows and falling rocks no longer dictated movement, they were tools. Jagged cliffs became pathways, predator territories became controllable zones, and toxic areas were neutralized or exploited for safety and advantage. Humans moved as though the planet itself were an extension of their own senses, responding to threats with both foresight and speed. The Deathworlders watched, their instinctual aggression tempered by the realization that the humans' efficiency and adaptability could not be matched. By the time the humans reached the highest ridge, the valley below stretched chaotic yet tamed under their silent orchestration. Predators scattered or were neutralized, Deathworlders deferred space, and environmental hazards were navigated with minimal risk. Humans paused, scanning the expanse, calm and unhurried, their composure a visual assertion of dominance. Every decision had been deliberate, every movement optimized for survival, control, and strategic advantage. The planet's natural fury had been confronted and, through skill and adaptability, transformed into manageable variables. Lightning struck molten rivers, steam hissed from fissures, and the terrain threatened to collapse, yet the humans remained unshaken. They moved forward in perfect unison, their presence methodical and deliberate, either flaunting power nor underestimating danger. The Deathworlders had acknowledged them, predators were contained, and chaos had become a framework through which humans operated with flawless execution. In this harshest of worlds, humans had not merely survived, they had imposed structure, control, and dominance through intelligence, adaptability, and controlled savagery. As they walked along the final stretch of the ridge, their silhouettes framed against the tumultuous sky, it was clear that humans had redefined what survival meant on this planet. Every predator, every hazard, every natural threat had been met with mastery. The Deathworlders' deferral, the predator's containment, and the human's seamless command over the environment told a story without words, apex, supreme, and unchallenged. The Deathworlders had witnessed the authentic savagery of humans, and even in acknowledgement, their respect was silent. Humans continued forward, calm and deliberate, leaving an indelible mark on the Death World, their supremacy established not through arrogance but through relentless, methodical mastery.